$50. $50 for this. $50 for this. $50 for this. God damn Namco Bandai. I've spent time with two 2018 video game releases, a God of War, which doesn't really push the needle in either direction. What it does well has been done excellently by countless others in and outside of the medium. Then there is Little Witch Academia: Chamber of Time, a game that preys upon a passionate fandom, a game that genuinely makes me angry. If you've been following my channel, then you know I'm a big fan of Studio Trigger and their Little Witch Academia franchise. A beat-em-up with light visual novel and RPG mechanics centralized around Akko and her friends sounds distinctly words maybe. In fact, Chamber of Time has plenty of good ideas, just poorly executed. It's a low-budget title with a AAA price point. You know how when you boot up a game, particularly on console, it has you adjust the brightness and screen size. That doesn't happen here. There is zero in-game options to rectify this, and no amount of fiddling with my PS4 settings had any effect. I had to force my TV's screen size in to alleviate the issue. This is telling of a multitude of technical problems, such as activating objects taking several clicks, or waiting 5 to 10 seconds for a scene change after completing a mission. The jank extends to character animations, particularly in the visual novel portions. It's all quite jarring. The designs are off. It's like an admirer of Trigger copied their work, but lacked that extra 10% to make it feel truly like a production of the best studio in television anime. I mean, look at my girl Amanda. Why is her design so washed out? Why does her hair look so wrong? On a fundamental level, I just can't vibe with. Trigger is known for stellar animation, character design, color palette, and all things aesthetic. Ryoko is a captivating rebel because every frame oozes disdain for the establishment of Honnouji Academy. Akko is such a lovable, well-intentioned buffoon because of her body language exemplifying magical incompetence. Even when the animation is limited, almost South Park-like in shows like Ninja Slayer or Inferno Cop, they nail a visual style that's distinctly Trigger. A lack of polish, whether it be constant loading screens even when there is no location transition, or making movement through static environments so shaky that simply clicking on a save point or NPC takes multiple tries. When I think Trigger, I think polish, and Chamber of Time doesn't possess such. Bandai Namco knows a hungry audience already trained in the ways of spending far too much money for so little is ready and willing, thanks to the anime industry. In the same way Amazon created Anime Strike, a below baseline effort streaming service. Amazon was confident people would pay, and some did, but they asked too much. Even of the anime fandom. To Bandai Namco, they believe they can get away with charging $50 for Chamber of Time. Anime fans are used to bad to middling games at a premium price. It's really only in the last year video game adaptations have found more consistent success via Dragon Ball FighterZ and the Omega Force developed Attack on Titan series. I suspect the only reason Chamber of Time isn't $60 is because there is no physical release here in the US. So if you're Bandai Namco, Bandai, whatever the hell it is, why not pull this half-ass bullshit? Localization costs are likely negligible as the original Japanese cast returns, a convenient excuse in the name of fan service. Much like how the soundtrack is ripped right from the anime along with a number of cutscenes that are stills from the anime placed in a slideshow. This would be tolerable if the gameplay wasn't so bland. Much of it takes place around Luna Nova Academy, which can be a pain to navigate. The minimap rotates, resulting in the menu map not lining up, which I check fairly often because so much of the school looks the same. Quests have you tracking back and forth for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. bouncing between inconsequential dialogue exchanges that could easily be streamlined in a more centralized location. But this is a game that does not value the player's time. I ran by Susie in the western portion of the school grounds on my way to a quest location on the eastern side, having just traveled from east to west for the previous portion of that very same quest. Who was waiting there to initiate the next portion? Susie. So much of this is tedious, down to how each character is introduced via 2 to 3 minute slideshows that come one after another for the opening hour of the game. You do have the option to skip them, but my insatiable narrative curiosity got the better of me. But both visually and narratively, they add practically nothing to the Little Witch Academia universe for those already familiar. As mentioned, they're optional, unlike the constant pestering of tutorials even for the most simplistic features. Once the game finally opens up, there really isn't much to it. There is plenty of plotting the same old ground, and the combat, while not bad, is visually busy. You can form a 3-witch crew from fan favorites such as Amanda, Diana, Susie, or Constance, all of whom have flashy spells to cast on short cooldowns and are wearing the same exact clothing, which can make it difficult to keep track of what's going on or have any real appreciation for the visual luster. And I think the developers know that, because the game is really easy. Enemies will just stand around only to occasionally fire out an attack that does minimal damage. This would be fine if the feel of the combat was more distinctly Little Witch, but it's just a serviceable beat 'em up with inconsequential RPG mechanics. Meanwhile, the dungeons are bland. Much like Luna Nova, they're samey. Akko and friends talk about how different keys will lead to different places, but the first 2 keys access the same boring gray-blue tunnel with the same easy boss battle at the end. The ambition of Chamber of Time is that of a $20 game, which is far from an insult of A+ games. We've recently seen publishers start exploring pricing. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, Ratchet & Clank 2016, the State of Decay series, and countless indies are a good example of such. There are clearly people who care about their work at this studio, and it shows. The bespoke animations, such as how Akko eavesdrops. Even though I complain about some of the aesthetics, much of it is loyal to the source. To pretend that games should always cost $50 or $60 just because a AAA publisher is involved is ludicrous, and frankly anti-consumer. As I've gotten older, my tastes have broadened and my time has become more limited. This channel makes me watch roughly a dozen hours of anime a week on top of the many it takes to produce a video. And that's just the stuff I do as work. I still try to consume a whole lot of media with zero intention of ever creating content. Like how I watched Donald Glover's Atlanta a week ago. Good show, by the way. Or how I'm currently chest deep in Nier Automata with Danganronpa V3, Killing Harmony, and State of Decay 2 eagerly awaited. I don't have the time to consume anything less than good. It's why I'm willing to drop an anime after 1 episode. It's why when a game like Chamber of Time so explicitly displays a clear lack of value for my time, that I look at my TV in disgust and say, why am I doing this? Why am I engaging with something that does not bring me joy or some deeper appreciation for media? One of the worst aspects of the community surrounding games and anime is the oft-possessed need to disprove another's opinion. There are a million different ways people attempt to do this, but the 3-episode test, the how can you review something if you didn't finish it attitudes are some of the worst. We all just want to be absorbing things we love, and there is so much of it out there that even if we made it a 24/7 endeavor, we'd never see it all. On the flip side, there are critics who revel in shitting on a game, and while I once did the same, I'm kind of just over it. Honestly, I want to create content about the media I think is special. This isn't to say I don't think there is value in dissenting or negative opinions. I mean, this is such. But spreading the good is far more important than perpetually shining a light on the bad, as internet culture is so prone to have us do. I wanted to enjoy Little Witch Academia: Chamber of Time. It brings me no pleasure to create a video expounding upon why it fails to capture what makes me love Akko and the gang so much. Patreon. I have one of those. Support it if you'd like to see these videos keep on coming. Otherwise, be sure to like, subscribe, all that nonsense. It is greatly appreciated as well.